Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those in favor say no. No. It's the opinion of the chair that the ayes have it and the resolution is agreed to, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Is anyone surprised that I am being targeted? Is anyone surprised that I am somehow deemed unworthy to speak about American foreign policy? Or that they see me as a powerful voice that needs to be silenced? Frankly, it is expected, because when you push power, power pushes back. There is an idea out there that I do not have objective decision making because of who I am, where I come from, and my perspective. But I reject that. We say there is nothing objective about policymaking. We all inject our perspective, our point of views, our lived experiences, and the voices of our constituents. That's what democracy is about.
What went down today in Congress was nothing short of explosive. The tension in the chamber was thick as Ilhan Omar tried to flip the script, framing herself as the victim, silenced, singled out, and unfairly attacked. But that narrative didn't last long. Republicans came ready for battle. They weren't buying the deflection or the emotional appeals. They came armed with receipts, the Constitution, and a clear message. Accountability isn't oppression. As Omar defended her record and accused her critics of bias, GOP lawmakers fired back with a force that left the room buzzing. They laid out her past remarks, her controversial statements, and the pattern they said couldn't be ignored. Each rebuttal hit harder than the last, exposing what they called hypocrisy and selective outrage. Even some Democrats in the back row looked uneasy as the debate unfolded. What made it intense wasn't just the politics, it was the energy. You could feel that this wasn't business as usual. It was raw, unfiltered confrontation between two sides that have had enough of each other's rhetoric. For Republicans, this was about drawing a line in the sand and reminding the public that words have consequences. For Democrats, it was about defending their own and controlling the narrative. By the time the gavel came down, the damage was done. Omar's attempt to reclaim the moral high ground had backfired, and Republicans walked away knowing they had made their point loud and clear. This wasn't just another floor speech. It was a political reckoning broadcast live.
Mr. Speaker, and to use that logic, well, then all those people should have just said sorry and we'd move on, right? But no, we don't do that. And let me tell you, I take a little bit of offense to what the hell is wrong with me. I'll tell you, there's nothing wrong with me. I took an oath to defend the Constitution, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Again, I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm going to hold the Constitution, and it's very simple. We really shouldn't even have this debate. If you break the law and you follow due process, there are consequences to your actions, even if you say sorry. So we can try all of the diversion tactics that we would like. It doesn't change the fact that someone broke the law and that someone should be held accountable. It is disappointing, Mr. Speaker, that their own party can't hold them accountable, that they have such hypocrisy. So with that...
Now, let's get into what really happened on Capitol Hill, because today's session wasn't just another political debate. It was a full-scale reality check. There she was again, Ilhan Omar, standing behind the podium, armed with her UL talking points, playing the same well-worn card of victimhood. She claimed she was being unfairly targeted, that her critics were trying to silence her voice, that somehow accountability was oppression. But the truth, this wasn't about silencing anyone. This was about responsibility, about facing the consequences of her own words and actions. For years, Omar has tried to shield herself behind identity politics, deflecting criticism by painting every challenge as discrimination. But that narrative is collapsing fast. Her speech today wasn't a defense. It was a distraction. Every sentence was designed to blur the facts, to turn the focus away from the questions she didn't want to answer and back onto herself. But this time, the room wasn't buying it. You could feel the energy shift. No sympathy, No applause. Just cold silence and eyes that said, enough is enough. Then came Representative Lisa McClain, and everything changed. Calm, steady, but fierce. She walked up, took the microphone, and delivered what can only be described as a masterclass in conviction. I took an oath to defend the Constitution, and I'm not apologizing for it, she said. And in that single line, she flipped the entire narrative. It wasn't just a statement, it was a thunderclap. You could see it on people's faces, the sudden realization that the excuses were done, the Victim Act wasn't working, and the accountability clock had finally struck midnight. McClain reminded everyone that the Constitution doesn't bend for comfort. It stands firm, and so should the leaders who swear to uphold it. But Lisa wasn't done. She turned her focus on Omar's own party, and the air got heavier. You can't preach justice for others while protecting your own from it, she said. It was a gut punch, a direct call out to the double standard that's become all too familiar in Washington. She didn't yell. She didn't grandstand. She spoke with the calm force of truth, and that made it even more powerful. Just when you thought the moment couldn't get sharper, Representative Nicole Maliotakis stepped in, and that's when it went from heated to historic. Her delivery was surgical, confident, unshaken, and brutally honest. Defending the Constitution isn't optional. It's our duty. That one sentence cut through every excuse like a blade. She reminded the chamber and the country that being a public servant means putting the rule of law above politics, above identity, and above self-interest. Her tone didn't waver once. No theatrics, no hesitation, just pure, unfiltered truth. By that point, Ilhan Omar had no comeback, no counter-argument, no fire left. The camera cut to her, and you could see it, the weight of the moment settling in. What was meant to be her defense turned into her exposure. The chamber was silent, and that silence said everything. By the end, Omar's "I'm being silenced" narrative had completely fallen apart. McClain and Maliotakis dismantled it piece by piece, not through outrage, but through logic, courage, and unshakable principle. This wasn't personal. It wasn't political theater. It was a reassertion of truth, a reminder that in America, accountability isn't optional. It's the foundation. What happened today was more than a debate. It was a turning point, proof that even in a divided Congress, there are still voices who refuse to bow to pressure or propaganda. Ilhan Omar came expecting sympathy, expecting to steer the conversation. But instead, she ran headfirst into a wall of truth built by two women who simply wouldn't back down. And that's the biggest story here. It's not about partisanship. It's about principle versus performance. McClain and Maliotakis didn't just challenge Omar. They reminded everyone watching that truth still matters and that courage still has a place in American leadership. So, let's put it to you. Who do you think landed the biggest blow today? Lisa McClain with her constitutional thunder, or Nicole Maliotakis with her no-nonsense truth bomb? Drop your thoughts in the comments.